Hi guys, welcome back to the second part of this AppStore tutorial. So in the last tutorial, we saw us getting data into the app using AF networking. We then make an array of all these dictionaries. We then use dictionaries to draw and populate our cell, and the end result was something like this. Okay, now as I said, while this all works, this is not properly correct, and it's not OOP, it's not reusable, it's all around got flaws. So we're going to move all this stuff out bit by bit. So where to start? Okay, I'm going to start with probably the biggest flaw is this. Immediate load should not be used for this function at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to break this up again. So before immediate load, make another pragma mark. Let's call it view implementation. Below it, another pragma mark, and call it API methods. So if you're wondering what pragma marks do, if you look in the top bar here, you'll see the hierarchy. If you press here, you'll see all nice separated methods. This is very handy if you have a big class and you can kind of just really focus very quickly on where methods are. Now, as I said in the last tutorial, this one's all about refactoring. Refactoring is probably one of the most important parts of any app development. You are very unlikely to write the code perfect first time. I can tell you for a fact I rarely ever get it right first time. More than likely I don't. I refactor it and I refactor and I refactor until it's as good as it can be. And even then I could have missed something. You really have to do it over and over again to really get it right. But we're going to refactor now and see how we can really tie this up. So first thing first, I want to move this method out of here because it's useless there. It's only called when load gets called, nothing else can use it. So let's make a new method. Void execute since an RSS query ns string query. Okay, so we can move all of this yes to here. Then we remove this string, replace it with query, and then vdid load just for now. Self execute RSS query with string. Okay, look at that. We've now made this method reusable. How cool is that? A few small problems. While it's reusable inside, we don't care about this being reusable as such. We do, but what we really want to be reusable is this. Okay, no other class can use this unless it's directly a descendant of this class, a child of this class. But we don't want to have to subclass this every time we want to use a method. It's pointless. It's not very good. We want to externalize this method. Okay, so you're probably thinking, oh, externalize? What language are you speaking? I speak the wrong language most of the time, but we're going to make a external class to handle this query. Okay, so API, right click, new file, ns object, and it's going to be API controller. Okie doke, and create. Perfect. So now what we're going to do here, we're going to handle all the data connection returns here and then simply return the result to the class. Now when people hear return, they think, oh, okay, you're going to do like a return type, so you're just return an NS array like that. No, it's going to be a void. What? A void? How's that going to work? A void, we're going to use a return block. So similar to how we saw here, AF networking has the success fail block. It is expecting these two types to return, that and that. So if you have a look at this, not that one. If you have a look at success block here, so success void operation ID success. Okay, so it's going to return these two types. If you follow this down, you'll see that's going to return this and this. We're going to do something similar with an array because we want an array to be returned. So let us do that. So into your controller, so we're going to make our own custom block. So it's going to be in the above the interface, type def void open brackets chevron ns array ns error. This is the name now, don't worry about this. This is what's called completion block. So I'm making this very verbose. We're going to return an array and an error if there is one. Okay? New bracket, ns array, items. So this is the first object. And then second object, ns error, error. There. How hard was that? We've then made a completion block that's going to return these two things. Perfect. So rather than having success failure, we're going to handle that. We're going to return these two items. We'll still have success failure, but you'll see what I mean now. Also, you have probably almost always seen methods like this, just that. We are going to use a class method. Why? Because class methods can be accessed pretty much from anywhere, but also they don't really care about the contents of this file. They're simply used for facilities. So very simple. Execute I can't spell, or ss query and a string query, and then our return type with completion block ns array ns array completion block Ole. How cool is that? So then if we go into our emp file, replace that, and boom. Okay, can you see what's going to happen next? This is where we want AF networking to work. This is one of the few places that we want AF networking to operate from. You know, AF networking shouldn't be working in here. We're going to remove this and this at some point very soon because we don't want it to be here. So we can pretty much grab all of this and delete into our API and paste. Okie dokie. So what we can do here is we no longer have reference to that array because that array doesn't exist here anymore, and also the collection view doesn't exist anymore either. You know, doesn't matter. Then we'll have it array items equals ns mutable array alloc init. Ooh, interesting. Delete the block self. Ooh, interesting. Then, so once this is done, we need to inform the completion block that we're going to pass something back. So this is a success block, so we know at this point there's going to be no error. It's just going to be an array. So if completion block, which there is, completion block items and ns error new, it's expecting the type and we're just going to give it that. Whoops, my bad. Perfect. But now if there is an error, we want to handle that also, because it comes to here instead of here, there's going to be an issue. So if error ns string error message. Now what we can do is we can actually parse this properly if we really want to. This is an example of what we want. Web services error. If there was an error in this response, we could actually pull the error out, but I'm not going to do it basically. So error equals ns error with domain. Domain is going to call it appcom.appstore. Code 1 user info ns dictionary with object u. The object is error message, and the key is or ss. No, I got that wrong. Error message is the object. Perfecto. And then that's the error made if there is an error. And then if completion block. Now it's expecting an array type, but there's no array, so it's 0 and error. How about that? You've just successfully moved a lot of code from where it shouldn't be to where it should be. How cool is that? Now, let's re-implement this back in our controller. So, now we can remove AF networking. And we're going to keep the block here because we're going to want that. And we're going to import API controller. Yes, that's what we want. Very simple. AP controller execute ORS query with completion block, tab across, just press return, delete, and U. So, if no error, block self dot items equals items. Oh yes, that's right. That's a NSMutable array. NSMutable array with array items. Happy days, and block self dot collection view reload data. Let's remove white spaces. We don't want them. Everything looks good to me. So it's going to go off, do that, and let's see what happens. That's embarrassing. Wow. Items exists. You go back to here. Ah yes, I see my problem. I did that. That was my bad, because I made an object of NSError. It's going to read error as a new object. My bad. There's no error, and we just go boom! Hooray! Disregarding my minor balls up there, we've just moved a lot of code out of here that shouldn't belong. All in about, 30 minutes, but a lot of that's me talking. So let's keep going. And what else can we move out? This stuff. This should not be here. But, okay, we don't want to pass a dictionary anymore. Dictionaries are handy, but look at this. This is just too hard to read. What if these change? It's too awkward. So, we want to pass objects. So, data model, new file, NS object, AP app item object. No, AP app item, that'll do. Yeah, no, object, just to be sure, because we've got other things called app item, just to keep the name nice and different. Make sure it's in data model and create. So, we have a few properties. Property, non-atomic, strong, NS string, name, okay, name, kind, nope, my bad, this is going to be a float, because it's a price, don't want to have a price as a string, float price, and then this is going to be a, not strong, my bad, copy for strings, copy, and copy, and then we're going to have a NSURL, image URL. Perfect. Okay, so now we have this object. What do we do with it? Simple. What we're going to do is we're going to take all this for now, okay? And essentially we're going to delete it. Pretty much, yeah. I just want this because I want the names, because I'm too lazy to type them all again. So now, when this is made, this is no longer going to return dictionaries. It's going to return objects. So, import a p item object. Perfect. So, for every item in here, we're going to make a new object. ap item object item equals no item object equal ap yes you. So we know each one's a dictionary. It's fine. So dot name equals that. Item object dot kind. What was that? Yeah. Dot kind. Item object dot price equals. Now it's going to give you an error because it's a string. You can just cast that by calling a float value. All good. And then item object dot image URL. Okay, now that's going to be too messy. Start again. Item object dot image URL equals ns URL or with string image URL string. Items at object item object. Okay, so now we are returning an array of items. So just double check this is actually going to work for us. No crashes or anything. Okay, we have an array of items and each one is an app item with a price, a kind and an image URL. Success. Let's go back to our controller. Now, since we have erased our cell drawing method, all our stuff, so what can we do now? Very simple. We're going to go to our cell. In the H file, we're going to import that data object item. AP. Yes, we're going to make a method. Void decorate cell with app item. AP. Yes, and app item. There we go. I said it backwards, didn't I? I did that in the emp file. Okay, now another thing while we're here, take all your properties, cut them, and put them in here. So in the collection view cell emp file, the very top, interface, ap collection cell, bracket end. So now these are all going to be private variables. So only this class can edit them. So it's very important. We don't want these to be drawn anywhere else except the cell. So we have everything we need now to draw this out. So I'm going to use a little thing called jump cut just to speed things up a little bit. So jump cut's a very handy tool for saving all your last copy and pasted things. So self.name.text equals, actually no, hold on, this is actually a bad idea. Scrub that, we'll do it the long way. Self.name .text equals app item.name. Self.kind.text equals app item.kind. Self.price.text equals, now here's the fun part, because this is currently a float, we need to put a float into a string. In a string with format percent dot to f. That's my timer for my pasta going off. App item dot price. What this does, because we saw that the format for the price had something like 5 or 6 decimal places, this is saying we want a float to 2 decimal places. That's all we need. Also, import AF networking No, UI image view plus AF UI image view AF networking, because here's where the download's going to happen. So self dot image set image URL app item dot URL image URL placeholder nil, and we are done. Yeah, I believe that's it. One last thing to do, into our top rated controller, and up to the very top, delete the AF networking, import AP app item object, all good, and then AP app item object item equals self.items index path.row. So we're going to assign one object to each cell, and then cell decorate. I did make that into a public method, didn't I? Nope, I did not. Copy and paste the method from your cell's M file to the H file. And also, if you're like me, you forgot to move this to the right place, the app item object has to be in your H file because the H file has to know about it. Back to your top rated controller. I know it's quite fast, guys, but you know, it's going to get more difficult. Cell decorate cell with app item item. Okay, and we build success and oops, breakpoints. Oh yes. And as you can see, you've only got two decimal places now. What we can do later on is we can do the currency, because there's a currency code returned inside the data, so we can use that to use a nice. We can explore categories to refactor that. And a few other things. So as you see, as I said the end of the last tutorial and the start of this one, this is mostly going to be refactoring, moving things to the appropriate place, because as you saw, it worked earlier, but it wasn't correct. Now, any class we want can use this ORSS method. Any class we make can use this and get back what it wants very, very easily. Any class that reuses this particular cell we've made can do it with consummate ease. And now, if you look at the class compared to what it used to be, it's about half the size. The responsibility all belongs to different classes now, where it should do. All this is doing is saying, okay, start this request. Okay, I've started the request. Gives me back the array or the error, which we haven't handled, which we will at some stage. And then it says collection view. Hey, you've got items. Okay, how many do I have? Okay, I've got this many. What do I do with it? Okay, decorate them with this item. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it'll do it. So you've taken all the heavy work out of the controller to the appropriate parts of the app. Now there's more refactoring we can do in that this can be done somewhere else as well. This should be done, some people would say, do it in the object itself. I don't think you should clutter the objects with this kind of thing, because the object doesn't really care who populates as such. Well, ideally these should be actually private variables as well, which we can do later at some stage as well if we really want to. But what I generally do is I make a category on this controller, so it'll have access to the methods, but they won't be in here. But that's work for another day. So this was all about refactoring. The next tutorial, I think, will be really kind of tightening up some of the graphical things, make it look more like the App Store, refactoring a bit more, maybe go into categories. Actually, categories would be really good, because I can make a category to show you how to make a category for a controller, and also in a string category, because in a string has a really cool function that will turn a 3-character ISO code like pound GBP into a currency symbol. GBP, AUD, ASD, USD. All the 3-digit characters, the 3-character numbers, letters that form up a currency code into the symbol. So then, no matter what currency we have, this would show pounds, dollars, yen, rubles, whatever. So that's the next tutorial, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, ask away, but please look at the source code I put up after you've had some issues. And if your issues are you trying to change stuff, you know it's very hard for me to objectively look at what you're trying to do. So please try and follow tutorials to the end as I'm doing them, finish them, and then try and edit them, because you'll have a better understanding of the whole concept by the end. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.